Peak cinema. That's the phrase of the week. Chapter 1155 of the One Piece manga came out. I'm trying to go for a personal record and drop this review as soon as I can. Hopefully it goes according to plan. This chapter has some crazy content, and of course, agenda. Before we dive straight in, every week a chapter comes out. I always make a review on it, so make sure to like and subscribe. We got a cool vibe going on, and I think you would like it. Enough of all that though. One Piece. Let's get into it. Finally, we don't have a Yamato cover story to piss me off. Instead, we've got this beautiful color spread of all the straw hats on this ladder between two houses. Not really much to say about that, to be honest, but did anyone notice that Oda forgot to draw Nami's tattoo? Hilarious, right? Anyways, the name of the chapter is The Rocks Pirates, and it starts off exactly where we left off last chapter with Loki talking to Rocks. Loki tells them that they're on Elbaf, yes, but Harold is out on voyage. He then realizes that they're all humans, and he notes that it's the first time he's seen one moving around for real. What does Loki mean by this? Was bro seeing human corpses beforehand? What is going on? Rocks is shook that Loki calls Harold Pops, and he realizes that must mean he's his son, and so he uses that to his advantage. He asks for Loki's name, and once he gets it, he tells him to go home and get someone to send urgent word to Harold saying that he's been seriously hurt and that he's got to return to Elbaf as soon as possible. Loki, of course, the little conqueror he is, refuses and asks if he looks like he'd take orders from a measly human. This is giving off strong early Harold vibes. I was saying this last chapter, but it keeps being cemented. It's pretty obvious that was the intent. In the next page, Loki squares up saying that it's unlikely that Harold would drop everything and come back to the island just because he was hurt, and goes on to mention that Rocks just looks weak. But on panel, you can see Zebek pull a sword out of God knows where, and Rocks' swordsmanship was renowned for its brutal impact akin to a giant hammer or a cannon fire. It was said to blow everything in the surrounding vicinity away. Oh my goodness. Rocks gets into position like Roger when he does Kamusari, then slashes at Loki, creating a shockwave that sends him back. Rocks then just laughs at bro in pain, saying now he's actually injured. This was the highlight of agenda this chapter, and to be honest, it was the funniest thing ever going into spoilers. Here's the entire rundown. Shanks vs Mihawk has always been a topic that people couldn't ever come to a conclusion for. I think it's one of those fights that'll always be like that. Think Gojo versus Sukuna or Super Buu versus Kid Buu. The Mihawk side is pretty clear cut. Shanks is a swordsman and Mihawk is the strongest swordsman. Therefore, Mihawk is stronger. The Shanks side, however, isn't so simple. It's a ton of mental gymnastics, to be honest, but at the same time, I think it was pretty clear Oda made the matchup ambiguous on purpose. I'm not here to give a full speech about which side is correct or this, that, and the third, but what I want to bring up is why this statement is so integral to the Mihawk vs Shanks debate. First off, this is confirmation that Zebek is a swordsman, and he's so much of a swordsman that he has his own unique sword style with never before seen attributes. But with all of that, and all of his might, he never created a black blade. This was something we noticed multiple times. In fact, Roger is a swordsman. I know people disagree with that, but I think that was pretty clear. And he loved his sword so much, his son was named after it, and go figure, no black blade to be found. The consensus before was that it doesn't matter and is something only swordsmen strive to achieve. Of course, this is because we never got direct confirmation Roger was a swordsman, even though it was kind of obvious that was the case, but now we're told otherwise. A swordsman with unique swordsmanship had no black blade to show for it. Mihawk upscale. The second reason this statement was so integral for the debate was the fact that Shanks fans' retort for Shanks being a swordsman was the claim that Shanks doesn't even cut with his, in quotations, swordsmanship, and the attack he used on Kid, Kamusari, was a shockwave attack. Big up to them, to be honest, because they might have been correct about the shockwave thing, but at the same time, all this chapter did was confirm those shockwaves and abilities Shanks can do with a sword. I'm gonna say that again. A sword, by the way, was indeed his swordsmanship. Rox's swordsmanship doesn't cut, it shoots brute force out. Honestly, this was just funny to see, but so far I haven't actually seen any good Shanks fan arguments, so I'll be reading the comments for the video on Sunday. We enter another flashback into the reverie where Harold met Rox, and the first thing we're told is that someone kidnapped 5 kings. No one knows the culprit, but someone describes a big man in black. Imu says that the lives of the kings aren't enough to extort him, and Rox, who's casually just sitting in the room, says no kidding, but it threw the Holy Land into chaos for sure. The incident would be the first and last of its kind, and Intruder made it all the way to the Room of Flowers, hidden deep within the Holy Land. The man claimed to be a fan of Davy Jones. He knew there was nothing more he could do in that moment, so he withdrew with these words. Imu, I'm gonna be back here, and you're not gonna do anything about it. Yeah, this is how I read the dialogue in my head, to be honest. This genuinely might be the coolest line to come out of any One Piece character in like 100 chapters or something. That man told Imu, of all people, that he's gonna come back, and wholeheartedly believed that no one was going to stop him. Honestly though, it's still confusing to me on how Rox got that far. Clearly no one checked him beforehand because the Celestial Dragon saw him according to what their descriptions were, but he just ended up sitting near Imu. Super weird situation we got here, to be honest, but on the same topic, Rox has a gun in his hand. This was used as the main way to deflect the Mihawk upscale, saying that Rox was a gunslinger as well or something. If y'all want to know my actual opinion on this, I have no idea. I was about to say that Rox can probably like create weapons on the spot with like a devil fruit or something because of our inability to see the sword he used against Loki, but Oda actually drew it in, it just wasn't visible last chapter. It's very odd because we don't see this gun again, but yeah, I really don't know what to say. Naturally, this incident would never be brought to light. Ironically, on that very day, there was another intruder in the Holy Land. We see a whole bunch of celestial dragons, very ugly ones to be exact, and then some guards saying that they need to protect the nobles. The reason for such concern is because in the next page, we see Harold running with fire all over him. Harold thinks he's being punished for his trespassing, but then he realizes that he's being framed for being the one who kidnapped the 5 kings. Then Zebek is running the opposite way, and it's announced that an admiral was killed by him, and it's mandatory to proceed with caution around the castle. Harold and Zebek see each other, and Harold says that he must be the one who framed him as the kidnapper. Zebek at the same time is confused on how there's even a giant on the Holy Land. Boom! In the next double spread, Rox and Harold clash and blow everything around them away. Rox asks for Harold's name, and as they exchange, Rox tells him to aim his next strike towards the town because they'll enslave him if he's caught. Harold asks Rox how to get to Elbaf, and Rox points the way, and then he follows up saying that they definitely need to meet again eventually, but Harold immediately tells him hell no, he's not associating with a criminal like him, and jumps off the red line. Rox had taken down an admiral just moments earlier. Despite the efforts to save him, Rox cooked that boy so hard he eventually died. In the blink of an eye, Rox's infamy boomed, and the event sent a powerful shock throughout the seas. And we see Rox's first ever bounty picture. This is ridiculous, by the way. He looks exactly like Buggy. The pose is even the exact same. Someone please get cooking in the comments. My thoughts are all over the place, so I can't really create a theory right now. Anyways, before we continue, the fight between Rox and the Admiral was completely off screen, but at the very least, we got some information to contextualize it. Rox actually somehow framed Harold as the king kidnapper, and so he wasn't the one being persecuted. It was only after he killed the Admiral that he was, and so it makes you wonder how this conflict even went about. I don't really care, I'm gonna ride by my agenda, and so I think Rox genuinely didn't have an extended fight with the Admiral. Again, Rox framed Harold already, so the only way for them to start fighting would have to be Rox attacking him. They did fight, however, because we can see that Rox is roughed up, but the Admiral ultimately lost and, well, died. It's funny because everyone, including me, assumed he died directly to Rox, but he actually succumbed to his injuries. So the infamous quote that was being spammed of, in quotations, not using full power while about to be killed was thrown out the window real fast. The final thing I want to say regarding this is the fact that this almost confirms what I was saying from before, that the admirals weren't as strong back then. Not only do we have statements that our current navy is as strong as ever, outside of the obvious stuff, Imu just got threatened by the worst criminal they have ever seen. I was on Twitter and my stance was that this incident / the existence of rocks was the reason the strength threshold rose higher than it was before. There's stronger pirates. Stronger pirates mean they need a stronger military to uphold the balance of power. It's as simple as that, to be honest. Sometime later, a ship carrying a great amount of celestial tribute to Mary Joie was attacked. The gates of justice were destroyed and the attacker fled the scene. The stolen funds were later used to support Rox's pirate activities. Until that point, Rox had always acted against the world government, but after that, he started targeting pirates too. They explained Davy backfights. I think every actual One Piece reader remembers what that is. It's that series of games pirates play in order to exchange things. Using this tradition, Rox created his entire crew, and soon they made their way to Elbaf. In the next double spread, we see that Harold came back from his voyage and actually voiced concern for Loki. I don't know how to feel about this. I've been saying that he's a terrible dad, but this kind of goes against that narrative. It's weird because he seemed to just give off straight neglect in the last chapter, but here he's... maybe I was hating. Even Loki's confused, which is hilarious. He thinks it has to be a coincidence because he can't comprehend Harold just dropping everything and coming back just because his son was injured. Then we see the entire Rox gang at that point, and Rox tells Harold that he has to join this crew. To be honest, this crew has insane aura, except for this guy. My goodness, he's ugly. Anyways, Harold immediately declined the offer, saying joining him would just revert all of his good efforts to nothing. Rox can't understand it though. He thinks that all the allies he's made are just government pawns at the end of the day. He says that the dream he's been striving for is impossible, and then mentions that he leaves the island with the greatest of warriors. If something annoys him, he has the ability to just crush it all. Harold tells him that he's referring to the old way of Elbaf, but Rox claims that the same bloodlust he had before is still pulsing through him. Viper tells them to just shut up, and Harold talks to all of Rox's crews, saying that they should know following Rox would only lead to their ruin. Shiki, who he's looking at directly, is literally confused on what he's talking about and burst out laughing at the idea of him actually following Rox. Then Stussy is kind of implied to agree, but also says that his plans could definitely benefit her in the future. Man, she's bad. This guy on the left, Don Marlin, brings up Hachinosu, an island where countries around the world would send their worst inmates as a form of exile. In the next page, Viper continues the conversation, saying it was meant to be a place for the criminals to wait for death, given there was no food. Then this very ugly guy continues, saying that the inmates started banding together last year. The ugly guy's name is Ochoku. Then this loud piece of crap continues the conversation, saying that the island had a massive gold deposit. A shadowy organization found out about it and got involved, giving some of the criminals a fortune, and it pissed the government off. Zebek, finalizing the dialogue, says that even getting close to the island means you get stripped of everything you have by hardened criminals, and so he used that information to start up a plan. He's going to get money from the world government, offering to take the island back for them, and after taking the money, use it to take down the actual island and not give it back to the government in the end. Instead, he will take charge of Hachinosu and turn it into a pirate paradise. He says that he can already see the government and marines standing there like clueless dogs. This is an insane plan, to be honest. Who knew Hachinosu was that stacked? A literal gold deposit? No wonder that's where Rox created his pirate crew. Rox then goes on to say that this is just the beginning, using Hachinosu as his base, who crushed the navy, bring the Holy Land crashing down, and after that he'd be the king of the world. Yeah, and then Garp happened. Harold tells bro to pipe down because his ambition just sounds ridiculous, but Rox says that one day, someone is bound to pull the feet off. There's no such thing as power that lasts forever. Join me, Harold, and we would be unstoppable. honestly, I don't see this as a lie. I think people forget how insanely glazed Elbaf is as a country. Big Mom said that if she had an ally in Elbaf, she would have overcome everyone else, even Whitebeard, the closest to the One Piece. Hero declines again, saying he's the king, but Rocks rejects his rejection, saying he doesn't care because he'll take the entire world. Loki is eavesdropping on the conversation and is directly stated that he finally realized he had found salvation, and he's crying while repeating the words, "the world." 4 years passed. Hero continued rejecting the numerous invitations he received until one day, Rocks' plans had finally reached its fruition. Backed by his monstrous crew, he would send shockwaves throughout the entire world. We finally see Rocks' flag, and the chapter ends while he orders someone who's on the ship to set sail. What a chapter. I just want to mention this real quick. I did not know Hero was that guy. I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting that Vance Conquers Haki of all things to be in his possession, but it makes sense. He's literally the king of Elbaf, and he has been voyaging for decades. Like, yeah, of course he's gonna be insanely strong. On the other hand, apparently rookie Rocks, who's only just started his pirate crew like East Blue Luffy, has advanced Conquers Haki. Go figure, bro. He's him. Anyways, 10 out of 10 chapter, dare I say better than last week's. Alright, no it's not, mostly because of the Loki moment, but it's very damn close. Anyways, what did y'all think of this chapter? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.